And welcome back to Facts or Frauds. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, you're subscribed, ring the bell for notifications so the next time I premiere a video you can be in the live chat with everyone else, and leave a comment in the comment section to tell me what you think. And today, to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, let's look at the Moors, who claim to be indigenous, but they're not.
I'm a Moor! I'm a Moor Samaritan, your whole generation gonna die!
They just came along and copied off it. When they got here, they had to put that in there because as political bands operating separate from Great Britain, they're on our territory land.
Because you've given up your birthright because you don't know it. Now you understand why Obama signed the rights of indigenous people, because the only way you can come under international law protection is with a nationality.
Aboriginal man, Aboriginal woman. Your current conditions. If you're not happy with your current conditions, you have two choices. One, you can do absolutely nothing about it and let it continue. Or two, you can evolve in your thinking and behavior patterns and do something about it. I am the MX Moor Empire Imperial Customs Force Supreme Commander on New Bay. The primary mandate for the MX Moor Empire Imperial Customs Force on my watch is to enforce the MX Moor Empire Constitution relevant unto our independent industry, commerce, and trade. This is how we maintain order within the MX Moor Empire Global Common Market.
Okay, my tribal member, I'm a Choctaw Native American.
No, you're not.
My tribal judge is on the phone. I don't care who that is. That means nothing to me.
We're the indigenous people of the land.
You see my status on my license plate? I'm a natural-born indigenous person to this land.
What's that?
I'm a natural-born indigenous person to this land.
No, you're not.
Pirates pulled me over, and you can see I'm
Republic of Light.
Yes, sir. Which is an indigenous
tribe.
Right. So you see that I'm out of your jurisdiction,
Yeah.
sir. So
just, when you're in Lorejo, my jurisdiction.
Yes, sir.
Just respect the state statutes.
Yes,
right?
I definitely understand that.
Okay.
Thank you for upholding your oath to the Constitution.
No problem. I took a look at it. I never seen it before.
Yeah, I'm an American Indian.
Okay,
so
cool.
It's a lot of us.
I really run into like American
Of course,
Indians.
because we a lot of us stay on the reservation, but I'm an urban Indian.
Listen to me, boy. We don't all stay on the reservation. We work, we have driver's licenses, we have cars. You're full of it. And as for an urban, no, we don't even use that word. We are First Nations. Get it right.
I am an original indigenous.
No, you are not Aboriginal. You are not indigenous. And today, we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, a first time in the United States.
What we do here is go back.
When you went to residential school and you had to sing these strange songs and say these prayers in an English language, that's quite a deal actually, to try and be somebody else and you're not. It changed me from thinking of who I was. All our songs, our ceremonies, all of those things that was driven out of us when we went to residential school. But it's still there. And it's good that some young people are starting to go back to that. Culture is something that we were born with. We have to remember that we not only know those things, but to practice them. My name is Wambadi Wakita. I come from the community called Sioux Valley. I will always remain Dakota, no matter what.
When I was there, I was totally lost. I didn't know anybody. I used to hide under my bed. I used to hide in the closet. I was just scared. In fact, being in that school, my life was in danger. And the ultimate is they wanted was to take the Indian out of the child. And in doing that, they actually killed some. We knew that there were children who didn't come home. We knew there were unmarked graves. I do wonder sometimes why I survived. You know, it's a stark reality that we can't run from anymore. No one can deny that this happened. It's brought back a lot of memories for survivors like myself. So we need to work together as a community and heal together. As a survivor, I carry a certain amount of responsibility to have the truth known.
I was probably 7 years old when I first went to Inuvik Anglican Residential School. They tried stripping me of my identity, made to look like every other little girl with the same cropped hair, the same clothes, the same routines, same everything. Assimilation at its best. I fought to keep my language because it was the only way I could communicate with my grandparents and my mother. They were all unilingual Inuit speakers. It was important to me that I kept that connection, the verbal connection, to be able to hear their stories of their lives. They tried to break me, but my inner strength and foundation persevered. Here I stand today, strong with my language and culture. Born and named as Edna Agnes Ichivalak Pigalak, I was named after 3 strong leaders.
I was 6 years old when they took me to a residential school. I remember the day walking toward that school with my mother, and it was a silent walk, and I was so afraid. 20 or 30 little kids herded into the showers, and then your body being painted in white liquid of some kind, your hair cropped and then doused in kerosene. And that was pretty traumatizing. The school held roughly 220 people, half boys, half girls, and we were segregated. If I was caught waving at my sister, there'd be a punishment for it. And so as a result of that segregation, I never really learned any social skills that young people should be learning as they grow up. From a religious and spiritual perspective, of course, the churches lobbied hard to convert Indigenous people, Aboriginal people. They said that we were heathen and pagan. They targeted language in those things we had learned through all of millennia to know where we came from, to know who we were, as something that had to be eliminated. Before that time, I lived in a place called Guayastams. They call it Guilford Island now. We harvested from the forest all of the animals that we needed to provide us sustenance. And from the ocean in front of us as well, all of the species of whales and mink and fish. And I had a connection to the environment around us. And so after having spent years in those schools, by the time we were ready to leave, most of us were pretty broken. Many of us, including myself, descended into addictions, alcoholism, and violence, and it was pretty difficult. Those schools lasted for over 100 years. There were over 150,000 little children. And the last school that closed in Canada was in 1996 in Saskatchewan. There was a history on this land that had been absolutely ignored. Nobody knew about the residential school legacy. Nobody knew about the intent of the Indian Act, the chronic challenges now facing Aboriginals. And we're starting to accept the idea that we have this shared history for which we all are responsible for. When the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report was submitted, I was in the room when Justice Murray Sinclair, the chair of the commission, denounced Canada. He had just recited a litany of intensive harms against Aboriginal people. And when he said, "Canada, you have committed cultural genocide," There was just a silence in that room, and then all of a sudden it erupted in euphoria. We said, survivors want an apology from the Prime Minister in the House of Commons. And I was there and I heard the words, "I'm sorry," and then I couldn't see because my eyes were just flowing with tears. I was so happy that somebody had said, "I'm sorry." Canada, by the way, is the only Western country that has had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So we're trying to look through a new lens. We and Canadians, we as an Aboriginal, we celebrate each other, everybody cheering each other up as we move toward a more equal, prosperous future for all of us. My name is Chief Robert Joseph, and I believe that truth and reconciliation is Canada.
President Joe Biden now declaring Indigenous Peoples Day a federal holiday for all of the U.S. to celebrate. Our Carly Petras spoke with local Native Americans to get an idea of how this decision impacts them, what it means to them. Carly, what did they have to say?
Well, Caitlin, Indigenous Peoples Day is already an official city and state holiday in various locations, including here in Minnesota. It has been celebrated by Native Americans for decades.
It's time. I don't know how else to say it, but it's time.
Just last year, Governor Tim Walz signed a proclamation to declare the second Tuesday of each October Indigenous Peoples Day in Minnesota. There are 11 tribal nations in the state, including one right here in southeast Minnesota. On Friday, President Biden became the first president to issue an official proclamation commemorating Indigenous Peoples Day.
It uplifts Indigenous people. We are resilient people who have survived assimilation, removal, extermination, and termination, and we're still here. Not only are we here, but we're thriving.
Prairie Island Indian Community President Shelley Buck says this is only the beginning.
We're already starting to see some change, and the change that I've been privileged to be a part of and see firsthand is by electing people that look like me. When you see someone that looks like you doing great things, it's empowering.
Speaking of Native leaders, just this month, Dr. Gwen Westerman was appointed as Minnesota's Poet Laureate, making her Minnesota's first Native in this position. Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan is also of Native American descent. Historian and Lakota Native Gary Richards tells me Indigenous Peoples Day originated in South Dakota.
Indigenous Day, I think there should be mainstream programming that informs and lets people that don't go around native tribes and peoples and lands as to actually what's going on here.
The Indigenous people I spoke with actually described this day as a second Thanksgiving. They say they are not trying to rewrite history, but just tell it from their perspective.
Going into that school, I started to be influenced by that world. I became separated from my mom and dad. I became separated again from the life within the community. That's the kind of trauma I began to come to know and come to live. During the summertime, when the school programming wasn't there, I was able to travel with my grandma and grandpa to go out on the land, to go and harvest from nature. They were my teachers, and they instilled within me those qualities that we rely on today. And now this is what I am instilling within my granddaughter. So when I sit down and work with her in making these baskets, it helps to have that kind of appreciation, knowing who she is in being my granddaughter. My name is Art Bataligus. I come from Atikamek-Shing, Robinson Huron Treaty Territory.
In residential school, we only lived in moments where we could just stand still, be a little soldier, not look, not see, not hear, not witness anything. I witnessed some of the children running away. They'd be found, brought back, and they'd be whipped and slapped and punished physically, sometimes sleep deprived, no food. A lot of us were malnourished. Our Indian residential school experiences matter because we matter. And we need to carry on with courage and honor our culture, our languages, our families, our communities. We are still resilient. We're still here, and we will continue to be. I'm Janet Longclaws. I live in Long Plain First Nation. I'm a residential school survivor.
I was picked up in 1958. I was 6 years old. I didn't return to my community till 1969, 11 years later. It didn't take me long in residential school to recognize that athletes were treated better. And when I observed this, I made every effort to try and excel in every sport so I'd have an opportunity to get out of there every chance I had. Sports was about the only good thing that I recall out of residential school. Sports saved my life and saved many of our lives. For the young people today, I see great potential because it is my hope that the next generation don't encounter the genocide and the colonization that we experienced as children. We are damaged goods today, but we don't want to see that for the future. My name is Eugene Arcand. I'm from the Muskeg Cree Nation. My treaty number is 380, and my residential school number was 781.
This story and many others that are still missing is why every child matters to the First Nations, Wanìshi. And thanks for joining us on Facts or Frauds. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. You're subscribed. Ring the bell for notifications so the next time I premiere a video, you can be in the live chat with everyone else and leave a comment in the comment section and tell me what you think. And a special thank you to our channel members Tawny A, King Leo 9, Robert Morley, Private JM, Led Zeppelin, War Girl 73, and of course, you, Wanìshi. Thank you. I'll see you later.